we're actually doing it. We've actually started doing the episode. Can you believe this?
I cannot believe that we have finally started to record. Hand claps aside, let's give ourselves a tiny round of applause. This is one of those Cub Scout things, yeah, just going in circles. It's amazing. I know I'm excited. I know it's been a little bit of a stretch in time since we made the announcement to this moment in time, but that's because we've had some very important things. Like, what have you had happen in the last month?
Not much, man. You know, just I don't know if you've ever heard of a wedding before, but I've kind of been married. What about you, man?
You know, I had this thing called tying the knot. I'm not sure if you've ever heard of that.
Oh, that sounds a little bit odd. I've never heard of that, no.
It is. It's a Gaelic tradition where a man and a woman come together and they tie rope around their hands and make a knot. You know, it could be this thing like a nuptial. A nuptial, I think, is what it's called. Maybe?
Oh, okay. Do you know that actually rings a bell? Yeah, I think we might have done the same thing. It's just a bit culturally different, you know. So, but we finally got round to it. You know, we kind of revealed to the world. Well, we didn't necessarily reveal it at the start. We played around. We did a few little. You know, we had fun and games trying to reveal it and everything like that, and we finally got round to it. I think we announced it probably about a month ago, maybe or so. But we're finally here to kind of talk all things silly, all things wacky. Obviously, a lot of people that are watching this know us from our our manga-based YouTube channels, and here we still embrace that, but we kind of embrace all things weird and wonderful, because most of us are weird and wonderful.
I mean, this is the Let's Get Serial podcast. There's nothing more serial than cereal.
That's very, very true. And I'm absolutely stoked that we've got this. So we're going to be doing this once every 2 weeks as well, kind of talking about, you know, all the kind of things that have kind of happened lately. Or not so lately, depends how late we are to the trends. Sorry if we're not too caught up, but, you know, when you start hitting nearly 30, you start getting behind on all the trends and stuff. But I mean, one thing that has, you know, happened really recently, is the Nintendo Switch Lite. Ugh. It came out, and I have it, and I feel wholesome again. I feel good. I can see it up there. It's a beautiful piece of art, and I have not stopped using it.
I mean, you're taking time out of your Nintendo Switch to make this show, which
it's charging, you know.
It's dead. I mean, it needs power, it needs life and responsibility. But there's something absolutely insane about what Nintendo has been able to do over the last, God, I want to say, the original Game Boy came out in like 1990, 1992. Before I was born, basically. Yeah. I mean, I'm not even gonna lie. I was born in 1993, and Nintendo came out. And you know what? They came out with an amazing game right around that time that I picked up as well, and that was Link's Awakening. Have you ever heard of that game?
It sounds familiar. I've actually been playing it non-stop, so yes, I have. I mean, I had that as a kid. I remember playing it on my Game Boy. It was on the Game Boy Color, so it was Link's Awakening DX, which was like just the coloured version of it, the original one. But I played that to death, and the fact that they brought it out, and it looks so damn cute now as well, the way that it, you know, it's kind of got this kind of like toy kind of diorama above kind of looking about it. It looks so faithful to it, and I think the fact that they kind of brought it out with the Switch on the same day, it's a joy. I mean, absolutely, like, because I think it kind of brings back, as you were saying, kind of like that feeling you had as a kid, you know. It's very much like the Game Boy, especially with the way that they all the different colours. I mean, I got the grey one, but they had the yellow one, the turquoise ones, and it very much felt like that Game Boy colour aspect of it. And playing Link's Awakening, again, you know, in the, you know, late, you know, what are we, 2010s? Is that what we call it now? It kind of feels so nostalgic, and I think Nintendo is absolutely onto a winner with it.
I mean, Link's Awakening has been remade like almost 3 or 4 times as of this iteration, and every single time it just gets a little bit better and better. Originally, I'm not gonna lie, when I got the game, I wasn't that big into dungeon crawlers, I wasn't that big into adventure games, I was all about that Pokemon, and I could not get into Link's Awakening. And it's a super, super disappointing story because, again, from everything that I've heard from when I was younger, it was an absolute blast. And there are just some things that you can't replace, and I would love to go back and replay it. Is this game worth it for me to go out and get the Switch Lite and get Link's Awakening at the same time. Basically, blow all of my wedding money on this.
Well, it depends. If you're a Switch owner already, I'm not sure if you are. Do you have a Switch?
I don't. I actually haven't bought a new gaming system since the PlayStation 3 first generation. So,
I mean, it's still a good console, to be fair, the PS3. I mean, I personally just play it, like, so I've had 2 Nintendo Switches before, and I sold them both. I got it day one with Breath of the Wild, played that, took it to Japan with me. I was on the bullet train playing Breath of the Wild. It was a bit of a crazy experience. But then nothing was really out in terms of games. It was a very small library, so I sold it. And then Odyssey came out, and I was like, I need that Mario game. It looks so cool. Rebought it again. Completed that. There wasn't much left out there, and I sold it again. And it's only till now that they kind of brought out Link's Awakening and this handheld, because I think the portability of it is playing it in bed. Like last night, it was about 1 o'clock in the morning. The lights are off. I'm in bed. My wife's asleep next to me, and I'm just sitting there just playing Link's Awakening, you know, and you can just hear those tiny little cute sounds, and I'm crawling through dungeons and collecting rupees, and I'm just like, this was worth it. And it was only £180, which I think is pretty good. I mean, a lot of people will say, yeah, but you can't technically switch it anymore. It doesn't. But at the same time, a lot of people that I know don't actually play it, you know, on the TV screen. I know a lot do, but I just kind of like having it, and it's smaller, it's cute, it feels nice. I mean, I personally am so bad with money that I would convince anyone to go out and buy it just because I like it and I want everyone else to do the same thing as me, and I want my friends to be able to play with me. But it completely depends. I mean, it doesn't sound like you're a huge gamer anymore, so I mean, it's quite a bit of an investment per se. But I mean, in terms of what you're getting, the quality of games, the library that you've got access to for such a small entry point, I think it's better. I mean, I would rather buy that than buy like a PlayStation 4 and an Xbox, personally.
I mean, I can absolutely agree to that. The main thing that I play video games for now anyway is just when I'm hanging out with a group of friends and I want to do like collaborative things. So Super Smash Bros, that's my jam. That's my Jimmy Jam. Playing
Who's your guy?
My guy, 100% Link. Absolutely, okay. Hands down. Unless, of course, we're talking about Super Smash Bros. Melee, then it is Sheik. Not Zelda. Oh. Sheik.
That's very odd. That you've caught me off guard with that one, to be fair. That's quite an unusual one. I mean, I've always been Ganondorf because he used to have that move where he would latch onto you, do the electric thing, and then he'd blow up. But I've just been playing Smash, the ultimate one, and it's just it's mind blowing. So many characters, everything, and yeah, man. Smash was good.
I'm telling you, Sheik was the sleeping horse of Melee. There was nothing that Sheik could not do. And honestly, if they made like a Sheik-centric game for the Nintendo Switch Lite, I'd very heavily consider buying it because she is such an interesting character.
Well, I think you'd like the Nintendo, the one that's out on the Switch now, because they've basically incorporated an RPG game into it, where all the kind of characters, they've had their spirits taken away, and you have to go through and kind of recollect them, but then you kind of you collect other spirits on the way, and then you kind of use points to upgrade your person, and all these different side abilities and stuff. It's really, really good. It's not something that I thought, because I normally, it was always just something that you would sit around with your friends, you'd all get a pad, especially on the GameCube, you'd sit around on Melee and just like, you know, you'd put it on like 10 stock, and then everyone would just kill each other, you know, but I definitely think that the way that Nintendo's gone lately, it's just constant hit after hit. Their quality, it's not like with like PlayStation 4 and Xbox. There's like you get sucked in. Like there's been so many times I've been burnt by big games, and then you spend like $50-$60 on the game. You get it, it's half finished. It's not great, but with Nintendo, you're going to get something that you know it might not be as graphically impressive, but you know that you're getting something that's built fantastically, and you're getting probably the best made titles, especially their first party Nintendo titles. Like, it's very rare you're going to get a bad Mario game or a bad Zelda game.
No, absolutely not. And I mean, if there's one thing that Nintendo has screwed up in the past, 22 years, it would be not giving my boy Ash a championship.
Well, funny about that is he gave himself one recently.
How do you give yourself a championship?
Well, after 22 years, he's finally won a tournament, hasn't he?
I mean, he's still age 10, and Pikachu should be like level 1000. Like, Pikachu should be able to walk into a building, and literally every Pokemon in there should just faint. They should just be like, all right, we're out. Pikachu's got too much ability. Like, we're done.
I know, man. It's kind of weird because I was thinking about it. Like, I was like, has he really never won a tournament? And then I remembered the only time I remember him in a tournament, which was when he lost when Charizard disobeyed him. But I've literally I don't know how many people from my generation just kind of kept up. Especially now that I see the images of Ash and I've been like, oh, he looks different now, you know, although he's still 10.
Hashtag Sharp Boy for life.
Are you a fan of the old or the new?
I'm hashtag Sharp Ash. Sharp Ash every day.
I just find it like it looks so different. I think, you know, it's just like, oh.
He looks like he doesn't have a chin. It looks like it looks like somebody took an oval and just slapped it on his face and went, here you go.
And he's grown really long cheeks now as well, which is quite odd. But, I mean, it's kind of crazy to think that, I mean, you and I would have watched Pokemon as a child.
Oh, 100%.
And to think that it's been 22 years and it's still ongoing is a testament to that. I mean, I think, obviously, new Pokemon comes out, you know, in November as well, which if you haven't got a Switch, that might be the time. But it's kind of crazy to think that I still remember playing Pokemon Red at Christmas, you know, and everything like that, to now, 22 years later, nearly 30, our boy got a tournament. You know, it's kind of crazy to think, like, when you can start gauging your kind of life journey side by side with, like, an anime character, it's kind of crazy.
I mean, at this rate, by the time that I turn 88, Ash will have won 4 tournaments.
And still be 10.
And still be magically the youngest 10-year-old in the world. I mean, Brock was like 25. Brock has continued to age. Misty has continued to age. Ash is the only one who is 10.
When was the last time that you watched the Pokemon anime?
If I'm going to be completely transparent here, it was like Orange League. It was, because I still played the games. I still loved playing the games. But my dad actually would start getting me up on Saturday mornings. Instead of to watch cartoons, I'd have to go out and work. So I'd be out mowing lawns, saving up money for the newest Pokemon game. You know, I played Yellow. I'm a yellow boy through and through. Then it was Gold, Sapphire, and then I just kept cycling through those 3. Like, I put in so many hours with just those 3 games specifically. It should be illegal. I ended up getting Leaf Green, the remake.
That was a great game.
The original. And
so good.
It took everything that I loved about the new games and just put me back in a world that I enjoyed, and I could actually run instead of walk everywhere. That was such a game changer. Like, the mechanics for Pokemon, when they switched it from being able to walk to you can run and use a speed bike, night and day.
Well, the thing is especially, like, if you'd ever played it on an emulator and you could do that thing where you speed it up by, like, holding the spacebar or something like that, you can never then go back to just playing the original because you feel like you're going at a snail's pace. And, like, even, like, I would just, like, hold the spacebar, so even, like, the battles, I could get through them in, like, 10 seconds. I could just, like, you could just, like, farm, you know, everything like that. So it was a bit tough going back to it. But then they did try to redo it with that Pokemon Let's Go, Pikachu and Eevee. That was essentially a retelling of the original. But they kind of, like, incorporated, like, a Pokemon Go-ish, like, I haven't played it, so don't crucify me if I'm wrong, but I believe that catching Pokemon, you weren't actually battling them, per se, in terms of, like, wild Pokemon. You were just doing the kind of Pokemon Go thing, and then you would fight the gyms as normal and everything like that. So it was kind of very easy. They said, a lot of people felt kind of babied with it, but then, like you, Ruby and Sapphire were probably my favourites. But then Gold as well. Like, Gold was so good. So was Red, you know, but I feel like there was something. I remember being in secondary school, which was, I think, like, high school for you guys.
Yep.
And I would take my Game Boy Advance and I would just, like, I remember I'd be in, like, English and my desk would be here and I would just be, like, playing it like that. Just, you know, like, trying to... That was my Game Boy SP because it had the backlight, so I could hide it underneath my desk. And I just have good memories of, like, first time, like, trading it with friends, but, like, still kind of being a teenager at that point as well. I absolutely love that game.
So, I mean, I'm going to ask you 2 very important questions then. And these are going to be the most important questions of this day. First of all, to commemorate Ash and his victory, what is your favorite Ash moment?
It's really sad, but I really like the fact that he was really protective over Caterpie at the start. And the moment that it became Metapod and then, Misty was so disgusted by Metapod, and then the way that he kind of like looked after Metapod, and then it became this beautiful Butterfree, and then she liked it. I don't know, I've got such good memories of those like, early episodes as well, that was one that stood out for me. I remember seeing the Pokemon movie as well.
Oh my God.
I went to the cinema to watch that, and I remember I got a commemorative Mew card. It looked like an ancient card. And then obviously there was that moment everyone thought that Ash died. That was really sad, and as a kid for me, that was really sad. And my mum's just sat there just watching me and my brother just like in tears. So I would say that, yeah. What about you?
It was the Ash dying, quote unquote, in Pokemon the first movie. Like that scene, that's how you know what Ash is truly about. He sees these two legendary beings like fighting against each other. These things are basically gods in the Pokemon world for how strong they are. He doesn't think anything of it. He's sitting there, he's seeing all of these Pokemon in pain, and he does the most Ash Ketchum thing that I can think of. He runs to the center of a supercharged up beam. He's like, I can stop this with my body. And when he turned to stone, like, I still get tears in my eyes. Like, I made a video about it, and I teared up while I was making that video.
It was the reaction. Yeah, it was the reaction from the other Pokemon as well, because it showed you what he meant to them. And
they're like, so half the Pokemon are like, I don't even know this guy. Yet he just jumped in front of a freaking mind beam
I know.
for all of us.
It's like, damn, you got in front of those two? Like, that guy's got balls,
I mean, he's got a lot of Pokeballs.
He does indeed. He does indeed. Yeah, that's a solid moment, but I also think that's because it's something from our youth that we kind of hold on to, because I remember when that movie came out, it was such a big deal that Pokemon the movie was coming out, and I just remember the cinema was packed. I mean, even nowadays, you don't really get packed cinemas anymore, and I just remember it being such a big deal, like Pokemon's coming to the big screen, and we kind of just don't get that anymore. I know that they've had many kind of films since, but I would lose count. I know they're remaking that film. They did remake that film, actually.
They kind of remade the film. Not exactly, not like a shot-for-shot remake, but they've also tried to do those emotional moments, and I was like, yeah, these are kind of cool emotional moments, but they don't feel the same.
Didn't they make Pikachu talk in English at one point as well? I saw there was a video online of someone was like filming the theatre, and Pikachu goes, I assume she... I could be wrong. Don't kill me. Pikachu says something in English, and the whole crowd just goes, "What the hell?" And like everyone's going crazy. So yeah, that's kind of crazy that they actually made Pikachu be able to understand English. But then you spent 22 years with Ash now, so you might have picked up a few things,
Meowth can speak English because he taught himself.
Yeah.
But the next most important question is, what is your Pokemon starter? Like, from any generation, which Pokemon would you start off with? Not its final evolved form. Which starter?
Well, I've got an affinity with Bulbasaur. I love Bulbasaur. I would say it's tough. It's between Bulbasaur and Cyndaquil. I love those two too much. And obviously, Cyndaquil grows up to be a very, very good boy later on in life with our boy Typhlosion.
The ultimate cheaty boy in Pokemon Gold, the original.
Oh, it is a cheat code. It is so good. It's broken. I would say Bulbasaur, and just because that was the very first Pokemon I chose. Obviously, it meant that the first two gyms were a walk through the park, being super effective against both. But after that, I think the fact that once you get to like the Elite Four, it becomes like Venusaur is probably the weakest out of the main three like final evolutions. And there's not many great grass-type Pokemon out there, whereas you can get, good fire types and water types. Especially once Gyarados comes along, or even Dragonite, like, you're pretty much spoiled for choice. I wouldn't choose, what's the final evolution of Bulbasaur? Blastoise. I wouldn't choose Blastoise over one of those two.
You mean Squirtle?
I mean, like, obviously, we're talking about the final evolved forms.
Yeah.
I think Venusaur is the most powerful grass type that there is. But in terms of, like, fire type, Charizard's obviously a great boy, but there are other great fire types, and there are even better water types than there are for Blastoise as well. What about you?
You mentioned my boy Cyndaquil. And, again, the very first Pokemon game that I played was Pokemon Yellow, so I didn't even have a choice in my original starter. I got shoehorned with Pikachu, and let me tell you, for the first gym, that is the absolute worst first choice that you can get. It really is. Because all that you can fight from, like, between there and Brock is birds, bugs, and Nidorans. And that's it.
It's true. It's true.
And so I had to build my team around Nidoran. And that was how I survived. But if I'm going to choose one, it is going to be the Fire Hedgehog, Cyndaquil.
So good, so cute.
And again, way too OP at the very end. The fact that he could learn Thunder Punch and Earthquake, he was literally like, I taught him Thunder Punch, Earthquake, Dynamic Punch, and Flamethrower.
Ugh, absolute broken.
I walked into the Elite Four with like a level 65 or 70 Typhlosion, and I soloed. Like, just with Typhlosion, I just walked through everybody.
Yeah, you just walk in and Typhlosion's like, hold my beer. You know, like, I've got this.
I'll be right back, boys. It seems like a good one.
Yeah. Just chill out for a bit. I got this, you know. It's true, though. But saying that, you mentioned Nidoran. Nidoking and Nidoqueen are two of my absolute favorites as well from the, you know, the original kind of 151 Pokemon. That like, Nidoking always ends up in my kind of last 6, along with like Gyarados. Alakazam normally makes it in there. Well, either Alakazam or Dragonite normally makes it in there. I think like most people end up with this, like there's a very meta group of Pokemon in there that kind of cover all bases, especially the ones like Snorlax as well, because you know the ones that can kind of can do moves from different kind of groups of abilities and stuff like that, especially like psychic types and like you said with Typhlosion as well later on, being able to kind of do other different abilities and stuff like that. They're the ones that become more handy than just like a solid, say, one single kind of dimensional grass type or something.
Absolutely. Like my team was always Jolteon, because I think Jolteon just looked sick, and it was probably my favorite lightning Pokemon, my favorite electric type. Obviously Nidoking has to be in there. Primeape, because Primeape was a boss.
Yeah,
Love
absolutely.
Primeape. And he was super like. He was a good fighting type to get at the very beginning, like a normal fighting type to get. Oddly enough, I could never get Alakazam because I didn't have any friends who wanted to trade Pokemon. So I was always stuck with like a level 50 Kadabra, just like jobbing everybody else. They're like, oh, what can he do? He's got a Kadabra. I was like, bring it. And, you know, after that, it just kind of depended on which starter I had chosen. But my main team were about those 4, just consistently cycling through and becoming absolute monsters.
I think that's the only reason why I don't think I could replay the original series now, just because I know the meta now. Like, I know that that's just the team. I know that I'm gonna get Charizard, Snorlax, Nidoking, Gyarados, Alakazam if anyone wants to trade. You know, and then probably Jolteon as well, actually. Yeah, Jolteon's a good shout. But that's the thing, like, I don't think, like, with later on, they introduced a lot more Pokemon to the series that weren't just, you know, that wasn't just like a select few that you had to end up with. It ended up being brilliant.
Sorry to interrupt everything there, guys. It's Brian. I just wanted to let you know about today's sponsor, and that would be Right Stuff. We have officially paired with them for this show to give away a gift card to one of our amazing followers. The way to win this gift card is really, really simple. First, go to our Twitter page, which is going to be linked in the description down below. Follow us and retweet the pinned tweet. Then in the next episode, we will be going through picking out the winner and giving them the code for this gift card. I'm so excited about this, and I know Alex is as well. So without further ado, let's dive, I guess, right back into that content.
So have you gotten to read any new chapters of Shonen Jump this week?
I have read the latest Promised Neverland, but other than that, I haven't been reading much, although digital is definitely becoming something that I'm reading a lot of, especially lately. No, what makes you ask?
Well, because I just recently saw a tweet, actually just this morning, from Shonen Jump itself, reminding me that it is somebody's special birthday today, and that would be the birthday of Naruto. It was created 20 years ago to this day. The father of Boruto, as he is more famously known as, has been around for 20 years, and that blows my mind because I remember picking it up when I was 10, thinking that the series was like brand new. It had already been going on for 5 years.
That's crazy. It's crazy. I mean, I feel like especially this week, there's so much going on. Well, the last couple of weeks anyway, like we talked about Ash earlier, like how much they're institutions, really. You have to call it what it is, that how they've been going on for so long, and they've been a part of people's lives. Like, the journey has been going on for that long. There are people out there that have been reading it since day one that are now so much older and have been, like, have stuck it out. And it's just like, they can remember certain parts of their lives where they were when this part happened, that part happened. I've never read Naruto because I'm still really quite new to manga and stuff like that, which I'm going to get round to. But it is crazy to think there is like a 20-year history to it.
It's absolutely ridiculous. But Naruto was such a good series, a beginning Naruto. I didn't enjoy Shippuden quite as much. It just didn't feel the same. But beginning Naruto there was a reason it was part of the big three over here in America. It was such a fun story. It was so well written, and I cannot... Like, how much fun that first half was just blew my freaking mind.
Yeah, I mean, how do you, like, in terms of, like, obviously, have you read all three of the big three then? Have you read Bleach as well?
Absolutely. I've read all of the big three, all of the way through. And if I was going to rank them, we all know that One Piece would be number 1. Then Naruto would be number 2, and Bleach would be number 3. If I was going to do it out of a pure artwork standpoint, though, it would be Bleach, Naruto, and One Piece. As much as I love One Piece's artwork, something about Tite Kubo's just drawings are so sharp and clean, and the world that Kishimoto drew was just a blast. Like, it felt lived in, it felt very real, and it felt less cartoonish than what One Piece feels like. And so I think he really captured lightning in a bottle. Though him and his twin brother actually created very similar looking and very similar feeling series.
I'm just trying to think about the fact that it's been 20 years. I mean, I know there have been other longer running series, but to think that a series has gone on that long and kept such like a high standard and have such a devout fan base as well, it's just testament to how good that story must be. I know that, the longer the series goes on, the more time there is for periods to waver and people not be as into it and stuff like that, and then come back to it later on and stuff like that. But I mean, when you think about Naruto kind of growing up with it, now that you hear that it's 20 years, like, what kind of nostalgia does that bring to you?
It just brings a lot of things. In fact, one thing that I think of is actually related to another topic that I want to talk to you about, and that is the Naruto run. I used to do that all of the time when I was younger. Like, we'd go to baseball games, and me and one of my buddies would throw our arms behind our backs and just run through a crowd, and it looked ridiculous because I was like 4'6", friggin' 120 pounds. I was a round little ball just like shooting through people with my arms behind me. And you know what? I'd like to think that the Area 51 raid that happened yesterday was in tribute to Naruto. That was the main thing, is how are they going to charge the gates of Area 51?
It's got to be. This was blatantly just done by a Naruto fan, let's be real. I think it's kind of crazy. I saw an article about the kind of festival and the people that actually did turn up. Apparently, because there was a festival dedicated to it nearby in one of the towns. I think it was called Rachel or something like that. I can't remember what the nearest town is.
Roswell,
maybe. That's New Mexico, isn't it?
Perhaps, I
don't know. But the kind of nearest town to where Area 51 is, that they actually did hold a festival there, and apparently over 1,000 people did turn up to that. They had bands play. But then they had up to about 200 people actually did turn up to the gates, and apparently the police were quite stern with them and said, we will use force.
You ain't gonna be clapping no cheeks today.
But I did see there's that footage going around of the reporter outside of near Area 51, and that guy in the background just running past. It's so beautiful, and I think this whole thing was worth it for that one clip.
Like, everything that happened from the creation of this event, which was, again, one thing that I also want to talk about, but the creation of this event all the way to that meme of the guy just running, and every single iteration that has happened in the past 24 hours is ridiculous. But that is one thing that I want to talk about, is how seriously the United States government actually took the Area 51 storming the gate threat. Now, I don't know if you know this over there in the UK, but the person who created the Facebook event, the man who said it was a joke, was actually approached by the FBI and said, if anything happens because of this, it is 100% your fault. Like, a man who created a meme, who created a joke, was threatened with jail time if other people had pulled through. Like, that makes me think that there was like 2 people out there who went, you know what, I'm going to go to jail, but I'm going to take this guy with me.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of crazy. I mean, obviously, I think everybody, even like the government, must have seen the kind of hilarity in it. But I mean, considering it's such like a top secret base, like, it's kind of crazy that they kind of have to take it that seriously, because like God knows what they've got in there and all stuff like that. But the fact that it kind of resonated with so many people, I think it was over 1 million people. It might have even been 2 million people that kind of said that they were attending. I think I might be one of them. Because I think it just became like a kind of viral thing, didn't it? You know, people would just like click it just because you wanted to kind of see this thing kind of unravel. And, you know, I actually think that there were like companies taking bets as well, as like how many people would actually turn up, whether it be over 10,000, over 100,000. I don't think anybody thought that you would get more than like 1,000 or 2,000, but apparently over 1,000 people did turn up to this little festival that they had.
I mean, this is going to be the next Burning Man, 100% hands
I mean,
down.
it is in the middle of in a desert, to be fair. You turn up and you become one with the Earth and the aliens, apparently. But it's just kind of crazy to think that this used to be a thing that was kept secret. They didn't acknowledge Area 51, and now they're like, all the people that do turn up, we will have to use force. It's become this kind of thing now that like it's acknowledged now. It's kind of crazy how kind of the climate has gone from like, we don't know what you're talking about, it's classified, there's no such thing as Area 51, to now there's an alien festival and people know Naruto running outside the gates, you know, like.
Which means that there's 100% no chance that anything super, super important is at Area 51.
I think if there ever was, there wouldn't be now.
Oh, there might have been. In fact, it was. So do you know anything about the history of Area 51?
I know that there's. I watched the Bob Lazar documentary recently about it, actually, which I found incredibly interesting, if that is real. But yeah, I know a little bit about it, yeah.
I mean, the main idea behind it, and correct me if I'm wrong, is it was a secret military base that was used as a way to test experimental aircraft during the Cold War with the Russians. And I mean, they were in charge of testing a lot of things, because there weren't very many people out there, and the repercussions of anything going wrong were very, very minuscule compared to almost anywhere else in the United States. So they created this entire base, this entire system around there, and the only reason why it exploded in popularity was the possibility of the Roswell crash. And that brought attention to the area, and people started to look, hey, is that a secret military base 15 miles in the middle of the desert? So you cannot, you can't walk there. You have to drive to their base to get there properly. And so I think the second that crash happened, that Area 51 became well known, is when all super important things stopped happening there. I think they moved everything somewhere deep.
You would think it would be underground. I mean, there's no way they're just like, there'd be the real like Hangar 1 or Hangar 2, that there would be like, you know, like in Independence Day when Will Smith walks in and it's just like floating there. It's not going to be like that. I mean, the thing is like, I think, don't get me wrong, there's no doubt that there are, you know, kind of secret black budget kind of things going on in the world, because there would have to be. And there's no way that, you know, there isn't that kind of crazy technology going on there. They're probably like 10, 15, 20 years ahead. But to think that they're, you know, sitting around a table, you know, having a smoke in a Starbucks with, you know, some grey being, you know, I find that hard to believe. I mean, for me, I just don't think you would travel all across interstellar space just to get shot down by a dude with a rifle or something, you know, and then, you know, it kind of reminds me of like that film Signs, where like they said about, you know, Mel Gibson goes, oh, they can travel all across space, but they can't open a door handle. It kind of makes me think like that a little bit. But I mean, what do you think is there then?
Right now, I think it's stuff that's supposed to be secret, but not top secret. I think there's some things there that they're pushing the bounds of aerospace, but they're not pushing aerospace as far as they have before. You know, it could be just a new plane that goes an extra 5-10 miles per hour, which doesn't sound like a lot, but when you're traveling that fast, you know, that might be a thing. New radar technology could be there. Just
stealth stuff, I think, as well. Like,
but nothing that's going to be like space net, like the Space Force, where I can be a space marine.
So do you think that, like, while we're on the subject of aliens, do you think that the Earth has ever made contact, like any human has ever made contact with an alien before? Do you think the government has?
I think that if we have we aren't going to know about it for a while, and I think there's only going to be 3 places where the information would be kept in so tightly guarded that we wouldn't be able to comprehend it. One, I think if we have been in contact with them, the information would either be in the Vatican, because those vaults are deep, they're dark, and they're locked. Those things are locked better than any secret in the United States. Like, hands down. 2, I think that it would be in some kind of ancient civilization, because the way that biology has progressed over the years is lifetimes have become longer and longer and longer. I mean, take a look at the, whale shark. It lives for, quite a long time. What is that actual whale that lives for like 300, 400 years? Icelandic whale?
Oh, yeah, there's a few beings that kind of live. Yeah, I saw something actually that you mentioned that there was an animal that they said had lived over 200-300 years that they kind of clocked it was an underwater being as well.
I think it was a whale. But I think as biology progresses, life lengths, at least our relative conception of them, become longer and longer and longer. So let's say that we were visited by aliens 3,000, 4,000 years ago when the pyramids were built, 5,000 years ago. However long ago the pyramids were, I have a hard time remembering Cleopatra and the pyramids and all that. I think that if we were visited by them and they helped us build them, it wouldn't be inconceivable that only a few generations have passed for them compared to now.
Absolutely. Well, you got to remember, like, the crazy thing is time and space is infinite, so it means that there have been infinite civilizations that have come and gone, that will come, and that they are at all times either more advanced or less advanced than us. There are infinite civilizations, meaning there are infinite possibilities of ways that things have happened in what time. So I think the way that we look at time, like the blip that humans have been on this pebble is literally like a millisecond in the grand scheme of the universe. So when you think about that, it's almost like someone actually said to me, like, when you're driving down the motorway or the highway as you guys call it, do you notice the ants on the side of the road? Of course you don't. You're going too fast. So maybe other civilizations may be like that. They don't really notice us, or we're so far spread apart that there's no way. Who knows? But I do think that, for me, I can't conceive a reality where there isn't other life out there that's probably smarter or less intelligent than us.
I 100% believe in aliens. That's not even a question, because aliens, just the actual definition is a being from somewhere else. It doesn't have to be intelligent, it doesn't have to be anything. Anything that is not from Earth is an alien.
And that's if we came from Earth. There's all sorts of rumors that, asteroids bring bacteria and everything like that. I mean, we could be Martians, who knows?
Which would be
You never
dope.
know. We could have that would be cool. That'd be cool. To be fair, out of all the kind of like solar, the other planets in our solar system, Mars is the one that gets me excited. I don't know why. Maybe it's just because it's the nearest one, the one that's most likely going to have people on it one day or something like that. But yeah, it's kind of crazy to think, because I think mathematically there's almost kind of it's almost impossible that there isn't life out there, because there's just that much of an infinite amount of kind of possibility that there is. But if they were, say you could, they say, the government came to you and they said, Brian, we want you to be the first person to talk with the aliens, but you get one question. What's that question? And don't worry, even if they can't understand English, they can read your mind.
They can interpret the question, and I can get the right answer.
They can, yeah, exactly. You will have they're going to give you a definite answer. It's not going to be some long-winded riddle. You're going to get you're going to get an answer. What would you ask?
So I guess here's 2 stipulations to this question before I can answer it, or one stipulation. Did the aliens ask to speak with me specifically, or was I just chosen randomly by the government?
They said, Brian, listen, we want to impress these guys. You've got the hair. And quite frankly, we're going to come across as too aggressive. We need someone that can just talk to them. And we've run some database stuff, and you're the guy. So the aliens, they're probably going to think that you represent them. You're representing the whole of humanity. But they're not here to judge you. They're not here to get information from them. They've come to you and they've said, you have one question. What's the one that you choose?
See, that's so hard, because there's so many questions that I want to know the answer to. But For a joke answer, I'd ask them if they know how One Piece ends. Obviously, hopefully they do. If One Piece,
our time machines don't go that far. That's what they say.
Too bad. So sad. Oda's immortal. But I think, man, why now? Why now?
Oh,
not. I don't want to know any deep secrets to the universe because that takes all the fun out of it. But why are they contacting us now? If they're that advanced and they can answer any question that I have, why are they choosing this moment in time?
You're almost questioning their motive, their agenda.
You're damn right.
At that point, yeah. I think it's tough because there's so many questions you want to ask, like, how did the universe start? You know, is time travel possible? What happens after we die? You know, is there an afterlife? That's probably the one that I would go for. But then at the same time, I think you also have to remember how it's going to impact civilization after. So if you say, how did the universe start? And they go, well, it wasn't God for a start, because that doesn't exist. You know, then it's just war. You know, like, so you'd have to be careful, because you're going to be left, like, they're going to go home eventually, and you're going to be like, well, that was awkward, you know, like, you're going to be left with this. So you do have to kind of think about the kind of philosophical ideas behind it. Or I would try and ask them something. If they said time travel was a possibility, I'd ask them, you know, like, so who wins the next World Cup? I'm going to go put some money down. Maybe something like that. I don't know. You know, what year will England win the next World Cup? And if I'm still alive in that, I'm making money on that.
Yes,
probably.
And like I said, I just want to know why now. Why are they choosing to come contact us now?
Do you think it'll ever happen?
Will it happen in our lifetime? I don't know. I've seen some crazy stuff, man. I've seen some absolutely insane stuff. And I hope it happens in my lifetime. How dope would that be if you could say, yeah, aliens contacted Earth here, and they've confirmed that they've contacted us before.
You could go through your phone to go, so this was me at the the Limp Bizkit concert. Here, this is the day that the aliens came. Do you remember that? And then this was when we went out for dinner with your mum. You know, that would just kind of be crazy. But it's kind of true, like you say, like, we've kind of seen so much stuff just in our lifetime in terms of, like, technology and stuff like that. You know, it's kind of crazy to think of, like, you know, we went from just having landline phones to now, you know, phones are almost becoming obsolete. People don't actually use calls as much anymore. And, you know, the way that the internet is and everything like that, it's kind of mad to think. It's kind of crazy because you're so kind of self-aware of your life that you probably feel like, oh, if it's going to happen, it's going to happen in my lifetime, obviously. But the things that come and go, like, our lifetime spans are so short. But I think it's possible to know that. I mean, we went to the moon in the 60s. Apparently, we're going back to Mars in the next 10 years.
Something like
They're going to put
yeah.
someone on there. It's kind of crazy. Would you ever go to space?
Terrified of heights, so it's a 50-50 shot. If they're like, you're going to be the first person to test this out, I'd be like, listen, what are the odds of me making it back alive?
Yeah, I don't think I could ever go to space, even if they said. Like, I find planes scary still, and I've been on about 100 of them. To think that you can go into space, it's, as much as, like, that's probably the coolest and most fascinating thing, you know, outside of this, you know, this kind of dome that we live in almost, you know, not saying that we're a flat earth, but you kind of, it feels like that, you know. So, yeah, kind of crazy to think, but there we have it. So, I think what we'll do is we'll wrap up this episode here. So thank you guys so much for watching here. We've had a blast. We hope that you'll come back to us in the next episode as well. We're going to be doing this fortnightly. And I think we've had a bit of fun. What do you think?
You know, I think, you know, I could have more fun if I wasn't doing this, but I'd be lying to you if I said that. This is the absolute highlight of my Saturday as of this moment in time. I'm so excited that I get to share my thoughts, all of my nerdiness with everyone out there in the world, and with you, Alex, my amazing friend from across the pond.
I'm kind of excited. I'm glad that we finally got around to doing this. It's very well overdue, and the two worlds have combined. I felt like eventually we were going to end up doing something like this. There was only so many live streams that we could do on each other's YouTube channels until, you know, something like this happened. So thank you guys for joining us. This has been the first episode of many of Let's Get Serial, and we will see you next time.
Have fun.
So, we hope you enjoyed the show. We sure did. But what's next? Well, firstly, we'll be bringing you these shows every 2 weeks, as well as highlight clips of each episode. So, hit that subscribe button. It means that you won't miss out on any content from Brian and myself. Also, be sure to hit that like button, as that really does help support the channel in the best possible way. If you want to find us on social media, you can. We are on Twitter at LGSerial, as well as both myself, Alonzi with an underscore, and at Loheli1. And lastly, be sure to check out our very own YouTube channels. If you want to see more manga and anime based content, you can find me at Alonzi as well as Loheli. All the links will be in the description. So, thank you for joining us today, and until next time, peace.